So I have a goal today. I kind of set goals every day. My goal today is to not alienate any of the 32 fan bases, because I think I did that to the Chiefs and their fans, the kingdom, as they call it, yesterday. I've been banished from said kingdom. Welcome to another edition of Inside Coverage here on Yahoo, the how and the why, any and everything you need to know about the National Football League. My name is Andrew Siciliano. We are here daily. We thank you for joining us daily. When I say daily, I mean Monday through Thursday, much like the rest of the NFL. We kind of, take Friday off and look forward to the weekend. So keep that in mind. The fan base I alienated yesterday would be fans of the Kansas City, as Mitch Holthus, the great voice of the Chiefs, would say, Kansas City Chiefs. But I've done that before. Matter of fact, I believe they used me in their hype video to start a new season a couple of years back. No kidding. After celebrating a Super Bowl title. No, true story. But maybe we'll tick somebody off today. I know this. Frank Schwab is going to tick people off today. Frank is here. Jori Epstein is here. Frank will make people angry today, not intentionally, or maybe that is the case. Maybe he's going to troll fan bases. All I know is that after it was such a hit a week ago, Frank has been tasked with yet again giving you his guaranteed playoff projections, all 14 for January of 2026. Frank, do you feel good about him?
Of course I do, but nobody else, unless you're the number one seed, is going to be happy with it. I do upset 32 fan bases every Monday with power rankings, or maybe 31. I don't think the Eagles are upset with me. And to your point, this happened to me too. I know exactly what you're talking about, because the year that the Patriots got blown out by the Chiefs on a Monday night, and everybody wrote, the dynasty's over. I did too. And in their, the Before America's game, they played the special, which I think was called Do Your Job. Josh McDaniel, of all people, is reading my story. And part of the clips of the same thing that the Chiefs did to you, of let's go back and make these people look stupid about things they said or wrote 5 months ago. And yes, it was surreal. I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm like, wait a second. Did I write that? Wow, Josh is reading my story on the Do Your Job special by the Patriots after they won the Super Bowl that year. So it's always fun. It's exposed.
Yeah, when I didn't even realize I did it. Same thing. And after the Chiefs won, I'm on NFL Network, and we had Mitch Holthus on, again, the great voice of the Chiefs, and he said something about how fired up this team was when you said what you said. I'm like, wait, what? What did I say? And then next year, when they opened the season and the NBC Thursday, kickoff opener, they put out their hype video that morning, and I'm in the video, and I'm like, oh boy.
I bet Jori has never upset a fan base. As a fan base ever, have you ever poked the hive? Come on, I don't buy it. You're the nicest person in the world.
When I talked Shador, oh, that's very nice of you. But when I talked Shador over the summer, I think everyone was mad. It wasn't even one portion. Everyone gets mad when you talk Shador, which I know is not a particularly difficult task to achieve if you talk Shador and the Cleveland fans read it.
That's fair. That was the easiest
I've definitely heard that. Oh, when else people got really mad at me? When I voted for Josh Allen for MVP over Lamar Jackson last year, as well as when I included an offensive lineman in my top votes. And this year they at least told us that they're going to make our votes public. Last year they did not, so I didn't know. And I think I've said it on the show, but I voted Lamar first team All-Pro, but Josh first team MVP, because I thought Josh had less to work with around him and had to provide more value. But I definitely had people mad about that, which was not shocking that they were mad, but shocking because I just didn't realize that this was going to be a public conversation, that, oh, hey, your name is on it.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. I had honestly forgotten about that until you had mentioned it, I think, last week. And I was like, oh, yeah, that was you. Right. And as for the Shador thing, it doesn't matter what you say. You could call him the greatest quarterback on earth, which maybe one day he will be.
Enough.
I mean, yeah. Say he's the greatest of all time, and people are still going to come at you. By the way, that's not Shador's fault. It's not. It's nothing to do with him. But there is something in the water, and there is something in the fan base. Much of it not Browns fans. A lot of it Colorado fans are just fans of Shador. It doesn't matter what you say. People are going to come after you. So be it. You just have to understand that is part of the job. And as always, I tell friends, just turn the comments off. No one should ever get notifications and whether you're in the public eye or whether you're Joe Schmo posting photos of your dog, no one should ever get notifications about comments on your posts, because that can lead you to a dark, dark place. Anyway, should we get to football? Let's do that. How about that Monday night game, huh? Go ahead.
I do just want to add, though, that when Frank said he's probably upsetting 31 teams because the Eagles are in first place, I feel sure there are Eagles fans who resent the fact that you put them at number one and think that's unfair and that is going to give their guys a big head, and winning is never enough in Philadelphia. So I know we'll get to them, but I just wanted to let you know, Frank, don't think that the Eagles fans are okay with you just because you put them number
32 one. Out of 32, Jori. I like that. That's my goal every Monday, and I usually hit it. I usually make all 32 mad in some way.
Yeah, but Frank is kind of like, I don't know wrestling. Is it The Rock that did this? Is that The Rock? Who's the guy?
Yes,
and if it isn't The Rock, I just embarrassed myself, on this show.
It was.
Yeah,
it was
Frank
Rock,
is like this, right? Going like, come on, let go.
Bring it on. Been doing it for like 13 years now. I'm used to it, yeah.
Yeah, you're used to it. And the Raiders are used to losing this year, sadly. They fall to 2-8. Let's focus on the Cowboys here. Cowboys pantsed the Raiders last night, 33-16, Monday Night Football. This was the emotional night here. First time the Cowboys played a game since they lost their brother, their teammate, Marshawn Nealon. There is so much to unpack from the emotional side and dealing with the trauma and playing a football game and moving forward but not moving on, as Brian Schottenheimer said it. But from a football perspective, the Cowboys looked like a team that might have figured it out. Like Quinnen Williams looked good. Kenny Clark looked good. Logan Wilson looked the part. Quinnen Williams had 1.5 sacks. He had 5 quarterback hits. He had a TFL. He had 4 tackles. He only played 33 snaps. He's under contract for 2 more years. They started 3 defensive tackles. Osa Odigizua looked like the guy they drafted out of UCLA. Kenny Clark looked like a really good football player, stealing the souls of guys like Jordan Meredith in the middle of that line. Quinnen Williams and Osa were the top 2 PFF-rated interior defensive linemen of all of Week 11. And right now, with Jori, that pick next year from the Packers, the Cowboys are sitting, okay, let's say they don't make the playoffs. They're 4-5-1. They're the 10 seed, but they're sitting at 13-24. And I'm not saying their defense is fixed, but maybe they have something going here.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And when Jerry Jones made this trade for Quinnen Williams and Logan Wilson as well, but let's focus on Quinnen, his point was not, we're going to make a playoff run this year. And when people criticized it as a little bit unrealistic and naive to try and work on what you could do this year, I didn't think that. Quinnen Williams, at his height, is a top 5 defensive tackle in this league. He knows how to play. He knows how to get pressure on the quarterback. He was ready for a new change of scenery where, okay, maybe the Cowboys aren't winning a lot right now, but in the last 5 years, they've won a heck of a lot more than the New York Jets. And so I do think that this could be really effective. I think on top of that, if you look at it between Quinnen Williams and Logan Wilson, and then you have guys like DeMarvion Overshone and Siobhan Revelle coming back from injury, and Malik Hooker and Donovan Wilson had been out for some time at safety position. I mean, they had half a dozen guys back on that defense. So 6 new players. It was like they just got a new draft class in the middle of the season coming out of their bye. And I think that we're not going to say, the Cowboys have figured it all out after playing a Raiders team with 2 wins. But I think that the Cowboys are kind of showing they can be like a good bad team, meaning they can look really good and beat up on the bad teams. And now my question is, can they also hang with the good teams? Can they hang next week when, by the way, last I checked, the Eagles and Chiefs played in the Super Bowl last year, and the Eagles come to Dallas on Sunday, followed by the Chiefs on Thursday. So we won't have to wait long to see how much better they are, but I don't think anyone can argue that they took a step forward on Monday night.
I could probably argue it because it's the Raiders. Like the Raiders were so bad. Like, that offensive line is just not NFL football. Like, no, don't do that to your quarterback. That is ridiculously awful. I will say Quinnen Williams is a heck of a player, and he looked good last night, really, really good. I would like to see him do it against professionals going forward, and they're going to get the chance, like you said. I think, look, the Cowboys are not a terrible, awful team by any means. They're just very flawed, and I don't see them making a push this year. But like we've talked about, they have some draft capital. Maybe they could go and improve themselves in the offseason, but they do need to go a long way. And we kind of did this after the Arizona game too, or the Washington game. My fault, where they kind of beat up the Commanders, and it was like, oh, are the Cowboys contenders now? And no, they're not. They're a bad football team. They're a good bad football team, like you said. They're not the Raiders. They're not the Titans. They're not in that tier. But yeah, I just think there's a long way to go here. And Quinnen's a good player. The defense did look better, but I need to see that against an actual professional operation instead of the Raiders.
This is a good problem to have, but the Cowboys might have a George Pickens problem. Once you get past the entire idea that for some reason he wasn't playing on the first possession, and when he did get in the game and he got in the end zone, he decided to do whatever it was he did to the stanchion, and he drew a penalty, just like Jameson Williams had done in primetime and cost his team an extra point the night before. You would think that, did you learn from that, or is that where you got your idea? Either way, there's a reason Mike Tomlin decided after a couple of years, like, I'm good. Like, you can have him. And for the most part, he's been okay with the Cowboys. He has certainly played well. But now you have to figure out, do you pay him? Let's look at the money. And remember, the Bengals paid 2 wide receivers. They had an expensive quarterback. The Cowboys might have to do the same thing. They gave CeeDee Lamb $136 over 4. CeeDee is owed $56 million in cash the next 2 seasons. If you go by APY, average per year of the top 5 wideouts in the NFL, it goes Jamar Chase at 40, Justin Jefferson at 35, CeeDee Lamb at 34. So what do you pay George Pickens? And do you trust George Pickens if you do pay him? Or, Jori, there is this other way out, which is you just let him walk and you hope somebody pays him, and you sit there with your compensatory 3 and you add it to your pile of draft picks.
Right. I mean, in terms of trusting George Pickens to be a good soldier, I would like to remind everyone that it has been 0 games since his last disciplinary experience for not being a good soldier. So,
it was only one drive, though.
So CeeDee and George were both out the first drive, and if I was watching correctly, it looked like George was in for a snap the second drive, and then CeeDee stayed out there, and George left again for a little bit and came back. But to me, the question was more like, okay, look, we saw all around the league this week in Buffalo and Green Bay and the Giants and the Cowboys, these guys getting penalized for disciplinary issues ranging from a series to a game. I do think that it's interesting to me, though, that when Brian Schottenheimer and Jerry Jones are like, look, we're not going to get into all the details. It was a lateness issue and missing things. That CeeDee Lamb, when asked about it, was like, I'm not going to go deep into that. I'm sorry. So he didn't want to get into it, but he was honest. George Pickens was like, oh, the Raiders personnel, and made it as if this was a schematic decision when everyone already knew it wasn't. And I'm like, sir,
shut up, George.
Do you honestly expect us to believe you for that? And then when he was told later that Schottenheimer had already explained that it wasn't, he was like, well, that's between me and Shotty. So as it relates to being a good soldier, he already broke rules this week and then lied about it to everyone's face the same way Jamar Chase is like, no, I didn't spit. So I do think that we should question the good soldier. Now, how that relates to being paid, the Cowboys knew when George Pickens got here that he didn't have like a clean record of off-field experiences in Pittsburgh. I'm not saying anything crazy bad, but he definitely wasn't following all the rules. To me, the point is like, look, even after he's out the first series last night, or first series plus a little bit, he's still catching all those balls. He's getting 144 yards. He's scoring. He's juking out all the defenders. Clearly, he's a big impact. If I were the Cowboys, I would want to tag him because I'm not convinced yet. I feel good paying him a 4-year deal. I mean, maybe if you did one of those things where you had an out after 2 years and it was kind of a fake deal. I mean, even T. Higgins deal compared to Jamar Chase had a lot less guaranteed money and a lot less sure of a structure. But I definitely don't want to guarantee him more than 2 years. And I would probably say 1.5 years of guaranteed money if I'm giving him a long-term deal. But Jerry Jones, on the other hand, when asked Tuesday morning if he could afford to pay CeeDee and George atop the defensive tackles, immediately said yes.
He usually does, doesn't he? And the problem here is, if the Cowboys come to George Pickens and say, all right, we're giving you this deal, it's basically 2 years guaranteed because we don't trust you, 1.5 years guaranteed maybe because we don't trust you, George Pickens and his agent are going to say, well, someone else will give us what we want. So no, the Cowboys are really stuck here. Somebody is going to pay George Pickens. We have seen the absolute.
But Jori's got a good point. You could tag him. You
Absolutely.
You could tag him.
Yes. And I don't think that's a bad option
definitely tag him
at
to
all.
get something out of it.
I don't think that's a bad option at all, because George Pickens is showing us, like, you knew that this was possible for George Pickens, that this was the peak of George Pickens, the ceiling for him, and he's hitting it. He looks awesome. Like, he looks like one of the best receivers in the NFL, and we all knew the talent was there. But Andrew, you'll remember this. Whenever I think of George Pickens being a knucklehead, one play stands out in my mind, and that is him starting a fight on a Hail Mary when the ball is still in the air from Russell Wilson. Like, I've never seen that.
I was there
before.
for it.
I know you were. Like,
I was there
literally like the ball's in the air, and George Pickens like, it's time to fight this quarterback and push him back out of bounds beyond the end zone. That sums up George Pickens to me. Do I think he's totally over that? Nope, because we saw what happened last night with, again, and I don't even mind him lying about it, because he's probably sitting there saying, should I admit to this? Or maybe they just don't know. I'll just lie about it and see if they figure it out, because whatever. It would have been, I guess, nice for George Pickens to stand up and say, you know what, I screwed up. I missed some meetings, whatever it was. That's on me. It won't happen again. But he didn't, because there's always that thing with George Pickens where if you pay him, if you trust him, you just don't know. But I do think at the end of the day, the Cowboys probably will pay him, because you always talk yourself into it. Oh, he's good now. Like, he's matured. He's better. He's this and that. I don't know, but I think they will pay him or franchise him, which I think is a perfectly reasonable option.
So I don't know George personally. I've never met him. I certainly know some of his teammates, right? And I've heard stories, but you just go back to Georgia. There's a reason George Pickens went in the second round. There's a reason he didn't play as much Georgia as he probably should have. He's not a bad human being, but like, there are things that have always been there. And when Mike Tomlin, who put up with Antonio Brown, and I mean, the stuff now it's obviously come out after the fact, and he put up with, help me out, Deontay Johnson, and look, there are others. I can't even, I'm losing track of Brown. All the enigmatic, we'll put it nicely, wide receivers he has put up with. Tomlin went, I'm good. Like, we're good. We're nice. Good. Yes. Yep. And I remember I talked to Cowboys people when the trade was made. I'm like, are you sure you want this? And they looked at it, hey, we're going to roll the dice, and if it does not work, then we get the compensatory 3. I'm like, you get the compensatory 3 if he plays well enough and signs a big enough deal to make that a 3. Not automatically a 3, but they did it, and so far it has worked out. But the money, again, CeeDee Lamb's making 34, and that's below Chase at 40 and Jefferson at 35. The wide receiver market has exploded. I want to get a quick thought here, because, Frank, you wrote today about the Raiders, and there was a lot of talk. We were all watching the game last night just about how seemingly the Raiders are lost. You bring in Pete Carroll and John Spytek. You sign a veteran quarterback, and you hope that this is going to be a quick fix. It wasn't. And I think that is the most disturbing thing, other than the run-pass ratio last night, which was absurd. You drafted Ashton Jeanty, you may as well use him. And Pete's explanation was, whoa, I am a run-the-football guy, but we truly thought the play-action game would kill them. And it was all about play-action last night until it didn't work. But what's disturbing is that they are not developing rookies. It's one thing to lose. It's another thing to not develop the guys you picked. In case in point, with JPJ, Jackson Powers Johnson out, you put Jordan Meredith in there, and he was getting dump trucked all night. And you put him in there in place of third-round pick Caleb Rodgers, an offensive lineman, an interior lineman, a guy who didn't even dress. He was inactive. Charles Grant, also a third-round pick, didn't dress. Jack Besh, wide receiver, rookie, kid out of TCU. He had 1 target. Dante Thornton, no targets. Ashton Jeanty had 6 carries. So you're losing, and you're doing so, Frank, with misplaced toys.
Right. And I mean, Tyler Lockett, he didn't work out with the Titans of all teams.
One of my favorite people, by the way.
Great guy, great career, yes. Great guy. I have nothing against him. But a team like the Raiders should not be playing a 33-year-old Tyler Lockett over Jack Besh, over Deontay Thornton. Like, it makes no sense. But that's kind of the Raiders now. There's no plan going on at all. And going back to the offseason, I thought, it's weird that the Raiders are hiring the oldest coach in NFL, literally the oldest coach in NFL history. But everybody said, and they traded for a 35-year-old quarterback too, in Geno Smith. But everybody said, hey, we need to have some signs of progress. We need to establish a culture. Pete's going to leave it better than he left it. And okay, that's fine. It's a lot worse now. The Raiders are actually worse than when Antonio Pierce was there. And that is just, I'm having a hard time reconciling this because all of a sudden the Raiders need to be very thankful the Titans exist this year, or else they would be in a landslide the worst team in the NFL. Since that week 1 win over the Patriots, and goodness knows how that happened, but since then they are 1-8, and their only win is a home win against that Titans team. That's it. Like they have looked awful. They look awful on Monday night. They look really uncompetitive. Just again, like not even a professional operation in many ways. They looked really, really bad, worse than they have even the past few years. And Pete Carroll, who probably is not going to coach that much longer. Again, he's the oldest coach in the NFL. This isn't some 10-year thing where he can turn it around. He was supposed to help turn this thing around right away. And I don't know where you go with a 75-year-old Pete Carroll in 2026. Do you really run it back? Like, you've seen no progress. Maybe you see progress in year 2, but maybe you don't. And I think Pete Carroll has a good argument for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He has a good argument for the College Football Hall of Fame too. He has been an unbelievably good coach. I just don't know how this fits in with what the Raiders have to do. They need to rebuild. They need to reset. They need to blow that thing up and almost start again. I don't know that Pete Carroll's the right guy for that. And he was never the right guy for that. It made no sense, but most things the Raiders do don't make sense.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think when I consider what the Raiders are doing this year, I need to separate a little bit in terms of, are they winning and are they building a culture? And I'm not sure the answer to the second, but I think when we look at it and we say, okay, Antonio Pierce didn't make it, and Gerard Mayo, when he didn't make it last year, well, look how quickly Mike Vrabel has turned around not only the culture, but also the ability to win in New England. Granted, they had a quarterback there, but it can be done quickly. So I don't think we should only chalk this up to, hey, it takes a little bit of time when you have a change of regime, because we saw in Washington last year and in New England this year, it doesn't. But when I talk to people, I remember I had someone at the NFL League meetings recently who I was asking them about the Raiders and if they thought that a change would be coming. They were like, well, it's just kind of a problem because they're in a rebuilding stage, but they have this experienced older coach who doesn't have time for a rebuild. So what do you do? But to me, the answer is, I don't think it was a mismatched hire if you believe Pete Carroll can improve your culture. My question to you guys is, clearly the Raiders are not winning more games than last year, and I recognize the role that wins have in building a culture and teaching guys how to do things the right way. But do you feel like they're a more disciplined team at all? Do you feel like they are any more professional? It sounds like you don't, Frank, but Andrew, do you think they're less professional and culturally strong than they were last year, or just not winning games?
So I think they're not winning games, and it's how they're not winning games. They've lost 5 games by 10 or more points, and Frank has all the numbers here about how most of their just league ranks, especially offensively, are down. Patrick Graham is the one holdover, obviously. He's still there at defensive coordinator. They have promising rookies. Like, we know Ashton Genty could play. I think Besh can play. Thornton in the preseason and in September has shown that he can play. You just need to see more of them. Geno is a good quarterback who has thrown the ball to the other team a lot this year. Their offense is noticeably better with Brock Bowers on the field. I mean, he's one of the top 15 offensive players at any position in the NFL, but he can't be a one-man band, and they don't have the next quarterback there. They thought Geno was going to be better, and with Chip Kelly, this offense would score more points. It isn't. They cut to Tom Brady last night up in the booth, and I think that's the question. How much influence does he truly have? And, he probably was a big influence on bringing in Chip Kelly, who's paid a lot of money. I don't like to look at the contracts, but there's some contracts here that they would have to get out of. Full disclosure, I am the one-time host of the Pete Carroll Show when he was head coach at USC on 710 ESPN, the USC flagship. I love Pete. And I told him at the league meeting back in Florida in the spring that I think the league is a better place with Pete Carroll in it. I truly do. I believe in him that much. But they are kind of stuck in this. Does Pete have time to develop these younger players? Like, Frank, you make a great point. You have an older coach and you have younger players that you need to develop, but you put in the older quarterback. So where are you? You're kind of, mind the gap, as they say in England. You're kind of straddling the gap, and you got to figure out where it is you're going to go. Because you paid Geno some money, and you could get out of it after you can add any contract. You just gotta
traded
eat
a
that
third
contract
for him too. A rebuilding
team
traded a third.
Now they tried to get Matthew Stafford as well.
Kind of
Sorry, Jori.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that would have been a good move for probably anyone, but I think the Raiders have a GM who's kind of looking at a 3-year plan, a coach who's trying to do it in 1 year. And like you said, it is a good question. I think it's also worth noting just from that cultural element of like Brian Schottenheimer, head coach of the Cowboys on the other side of the field last night. He says that not his father, who was a head coach in the NFL, but Pete Carroll was his top influence in terms of how he wants to establish culture in Dallas. So just to your point, Andrew, of making the NFL better, I do think he does. I think the question is, are they going to get the personnel to allow him to win with that culture?
And if it doesn't happen, then he and Chip Kelly can go back to the South Bay. Pete has a place in Hermosa, and Chip lives in Manhattan. And I told Pete back at the league meetings, I'm like, you don't even have to move to Vegas. I would for tax purposes, but you could take the 6 a.m. Southwest every morning and come home on the 10:45. You don't have to move. Why would you? Anyway, he moved, but he still has the place here. We move on. Coming up next on Inside Coverage is the team that plays down the street from where I sit right now, the best team in the NFL. And no, I am not talking the Chargers. And Frank Schwab's guaranteed NFL playoff bracket. Don't go anywhere. So here is the good news for Aaron Rodgers. Welcome back, by the way, to Inside Coverage. Andrew Siciliano, Jori Epstein, and Frank Schwab here Monday through Thursday. We thank you for being here. The good news is Aaron Rodgers doesn't need surgery. And the good news is it is his left wrist, the one with which he does not grip a football. The bad news is he's going to have to brace it up, and it's going to come down to comfort and pain tolerance, and can he land on it and protect himself, so says Mike Tomlin. And Rodgers will have a big say in this matter. It's iffy whether or not he's going to play on Sunday. He's not going to practice today, probably won't practice on Thursday, and then they'll try to figure it out on Friday and Saturday. Is Rodgers in the lineup, or is it Mason Rudolph when the Steelers go to Chicago this week? Jori, curious what you think of this. I'm watching the Bengals and the Steelers on Sunday. I am at the old name, Huntington Bank Field. That's 5 yards on Andrew. Huntington Bank Field in Cleveland, ahead of the Browns and the Ravens. We're watching that game, and somebody goes, you know what, Mason Rudolph, they're better with Mason Rudolph. I'm like, come on, man. Be careful what you ask for. I'm like, no. I think they are. Are you at all curious to see what Mason Rudolph would do against the Bears this week?
No, I'm curious to see what Aaron Rodgers, who's gone 24-5 against the Bears in his career, can do, because I want to see if he can get one more win on that. No, I think that Mason Rudolph might have a higher floor, maybe, because he might not try as much, but I don't think that he's got a higher ceiling than Aaron Rodgers in terms of this specific team right now. He probably doesn't even have a higher floor. But I think that when I look at this, I say, I think Aaron Rodgers is going out there, and I'm not trying to rush a guy, but the way that Mike Tomlin was talking about this struck me much more as if he was being coy about a player who he doesn't have to give up whether or not he's playing. And you might prepare a little bit differently for Aaron Rodgers than you would for Mason Rudolph, because regardless of their mechanics, and there are some differences, just the way that Aaron Rodgers manipulates the line of scrimmage and the cadences and certain arm angles are going to be different than you'll see from other quarterbacks in the league. Now, when Mike Tomlin was asked, does Aaron want to play, specifically given that this is the opponent and he has such an insane 24 career wins against the Bears, the most he has against anyone else is 18. Mike Tomlin says, quote, Aaron always wants to play. Opponent has nothing to do with it. It's his love affair with the game of football. So I think that this is a good time for the Steelers to get some reps during the week for Mason Rudolph and for Will Howard. And we've been talking quite a bit about who gets the quarterback reps during the week this week. But I think that comes Sunday, it's Aaron Rodgers out there. He'll have a brace on his non-throwing wrist and he'll be there. Frank, what do you think?
He's playing. He is playing.
Yeah, I think so.
Frank.
I think so too. And not just because it's the Bears, but I think I mentioned this yesterday, but Aaron Rodgers has to know that he doesn't have many games left. I truly believe this is the last season for Aaron Rodgers. He's intimated that he doesn't have many of these to go. And you're not missing a game against the Bears, especially with the Ravens are right there in their rear view. Like they're not just an idea anymore. They're a real threat to take this division. So Aaron Rodgers probably in his mind doesn't want to. Now Mason Rudolph has done good work as a backup quarterback, and he's actually one of the better backup quarterbacks in the league. But in Aaron Rodgers' mind, I'm sure he would never speak this out loud. But if I sit this game out and we lose a division because of that, I'm not going to feel great going into retirement on that note. So I yes, I think he plays. I think he's a tough dude. He's played through injuries before, a lot of injuries before, and I do think he plays. But we'll see. I mean, even though it is his non-throwing wrist, it does affect a lot of things, like how you hand off, how you take the snap from under center. And I mean, just a lot of things you don't really think about on a normal basis will be affected with Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, I have no doubt he's going to try to play through this.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at the schedule and you see that your team this year is going on the road to a town in which you own a vacation home, you're not going to miss that game. His vacation home, by the way, is Soldier Field. He owns Soldier Field. I know the Chicago Park Service probably has a say in that matter, but he owns Soldier Field, or as the old timers call it, Soldiers Field.
For Bears fans, Andrew, what is your social media? Because you said you weren't going to rile up a fan base, and now the Bears
I used to cover that team and work in that building and work on that broadcast.
Tends to say it,
they know it. Yeah. They know it. Bears fans want Aaron Rodgers to play. They want to beat him. Period. 100%. Yes. So I hope he does play, and I think he will. Now, we can alienate Bears fans even more by asking this question. Are they any good? They don't care, but we're going to ask it aloud, and everybody is. Are they any good? They are 7-3, and right now, if the playoffs were to start today, they would win the NFC North. They haven't done that since like the 50s. I'm kidding. That's not true, but you get my point. But of the 14 playoff teams that are currently in, 7-7, they're the only team with a negative point differential. They had been outscored by 6 points, but they're the only one of the 14. However, they're winning because they're clutch. They have 5 wins when trailing with under 2 to go in the fourth quarter. No one's had that since at least 83. They are first in turnover differential. They lead the league in takeaways. They lead the league in picks, and they're actually winning division games. They beat the Vikings last week. They've now won 3 games in the division. They hadn't done that in over 3 years. So they are back, and Ben Johnson's playing smash mouth football with a little bit of fun and flair mixed in. I like him. I'm happy for all my Bears fans and that fan base. I think it's great. But I do think it's fair to ask, Frank, how good are they?
They're not. They're frauds. It happens every year where some team just catches a ride of unbelievable.
For the record, Frank called them frauds.
Yes,
not me. For the record,
Chicago, come
when this is clipped and I'm on the top of the frame and Frank's in the middle, for the record, Frank called them frauds, not me.
At Yahoo Schwab, don't forget that I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. But anyway, not that this is personal against the Bears, but everything you just said, Andrew, all I'm hearing is regression. And sometimes that carries through for the whole season, like it did for the Commanders last year. And you just get lucky and you have a nice playoff berth and a good season. You can feel good about going into next year. But I don't think this is sustainable. Like you said, -6 point differential. I know you love DVOA, Andrew. They're 25th in DVOA, so DVOA doesn't even have this as a top. They have them as a bottom 10 team in the NFL right now. There's just so much working against the Bears keeping this up. Also, they play in a really, really tough division. Got a lot of tough games coming up. This is not a bad thing, though, for the Bears. If they don't make the playoffs this year, you still look back at this season and say, look, Caleb made strides. He looked a lot better. He was getting better as the season went on. Guys like Loveland and Burden have had their moments. They've really, the run game got going where that hasn't been a staple for the Bears for a while. Everything has been good in Ben Johnson's first year, but it's also okay to be like, yeah, you're probably really, really lucky to be 7-3 at this point. That's just, again, it's a fraudulent record. They're not this good. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but it's a fine season for them.
Okay, before I get into my analysis, I just want to ask you guys a question, yes or no each, and then I'll get into it. Were the 2024 Commanders, with everything you know about their season, frauds?
No. I mean, they made it to the NFC Championship game. No. Great.
Frank?
No, they weren't.
Okay, so when you look at it, we can say that the Chicago Bears continue to beat teams that don't have a winning record, which is totally fair. But when the Commanders went 12-5 last year, 10 of their 12 wins were against teams that finished the season with a losing record. And of those 2 teams that had a winning record, the Eagles, which is division play, and then the 9-8 Bengals, who barely had a winning record. And so I think it's interesting because I think 2 things can be true, as we like to say on the show, which is that I don't think that the Bears' current formula is going to sustain them for 2, 3, 5 years without continued growth. But I do think that they have enough momentum that the same way the Commanders were able to ride that momentum last year, I don't think we should be sure that the Bears can't. Now, we still have to see a little bit more. They still have to make the playoffs. Obviously, we know in retrospect the Commanders did, but the Commanders did not beat good teams to get to the playoffs. They just happened to win enough games to get there, and then they rode that momentum in the playoffs. So I think it's possible, and I think the last thing that's worth noting is that when you look at the Bears turnover margin, they are plus 16 in the turnover margin. No one else is plus 10 or above plus 10. And so when I look at that, the turnover margin is one of the biggest deciders of whether you win. So you can say, oh, it's late at the end of the game. Oh, it's this, it's a close game. And they definitely have things they need to do to sustain it past next year. But when I think about the momentum of what they've done in the first year and I think about the turnover margin, I don't think this is quite as fraudulent as it seems.
Well, and the other thing, too, is no one likes to talk about this, but schedule does matter. And you can historically look at teams that have had success and made the playoffs and, teams that didn't make it a year before, but now make it this season. The schedule has a lot to do with it. And what's your draw? Where are you going? Who are you playing? When are you playing those games? The Bears have benefited from that, and there is no shame in that. So they have pieces, Darnell Wright and the tight ends and the wide receivers. They have pieces here. And wherever this season goes, I am confident they are building in the right direction. Unlike Washington last year, they had the quarterback, the shooting star, the phenom. They have that guy in place. But a lot of the pieces, the aging pieces on defense, they were there probably a year early or maybe even 2 years early, to Dan Quinn's credit and Adam Peters' credit. But they probably realized internally they had to take a step back before they could take a step forward. This year has been a smack in the face, losing all those games in a row by 20 points. Not fun for anybody. The Bears have played one team so far this year, one that is currently in the postseason. And they play them again. That team was back in September, week 2. It was the Lions. And they gave up 52 points.
Gave up a 50 burger, right?
A lot has changed since then. This Bears team is not that Bears team.
Has it?
No, I think it has. I bet you when they play again, it's not going to be the same. Now, might they lose? Maybe, but they're not going to give up 52 points. I think they figured out what Dennis Allen wants to do. And to Jori's point, the turnovers are there. I think they're heading in the right direction. I'm excited to see them get in because I think A, it's good for the city, and B, I think it would be cool, Ben Johnson, Caleb in the playoffs. Let's go. Maybe they play the Rams because the Rams are the best team in football.
They'd get beat by 21.
Maybe they do.
We don't want to see the Bears in the playoffs. We don't want to see the Bears.
But the Seahawks would send a thank you gift because then the Seahawks wouldn't have to start off by facing the Rams.
Right. Right.
That's true, actually.
So let's get to the Rams. I hyped it up last Thursday on this show and on my silly walk-in talks on Instagram and TikTok, that it was the game of the year, right? DVOA 1, DVOA 2. Matter of fact, I took it a step further. I said the Rams and the Seahawks will meet 3 times this year. I think they'll meet in the NFC Championship game. But the takeaway from Sunday's game, one of 4 in the late window, is that the Rams are the best team in football. Matthew Stafford didn't play a good game that day. Almost knocked down my coffee. Did you see me jump there? Matthew Stafford did not play a good game that day. But the defense picked off Sam Darnold 4 times, and the defense is what right now, when need be, can carry this team. They're in first in the NFC West. They're the 2 seed overall behind the Eagles, but they have the longest winning streak in the NFC at 5 games. They're playing dime defense, 6 DBs, more than any other team in the league, daring you to run, and they're winning. Their secondary, their D-line has been rebuilt, especially the safeties in the secondary, all through the draft. It's no longer bleep them picks. It's build through the draft, and Les Snead has done so beautifully on the defensive side of the ball. And Matthew Stafford is an MVP. I don't know if he's going to win it, but if you had to vote right now, he would get my vote. They are the team that I don't want to play because they have a relentless pass rush. They can get home with 4. They can blitz you when they need to blitz you, and Sam Darnold saw ghosts. He threw 4 picks for the first time in a game since, Jori, he was a New York Jet. We had flashback Jet regression out of Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I think my issue is less that Sam Darnold's going to do this every week and more that the Rams have the style that Sam Darnold should be concerned about. And that defense is definitely a problem. And I think we realize that because, as you mentioned, Matthew Stafford should be the front runner for MVP right now. I was actually looking at a stat today, and he's got 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and he's the 6th player with 27 passing touchdowns and fewer than 5 interceptions thrown in his first 10 games of a season in NFL history. Of the 5 players who have done that previously, 4 have won MVP that season, and the only one who didn't was Patrick Mahomes in 2020 because Aaron Rodgers had the feat the same season. So no one's ever had a year like this and not won MVP unless someone else was doing it too. So I definitely think that, but the Rams should be scary not only because of what Matthew Stafford's doing, but also because they're so good that even on a day when he looked closer to average to good than he did great in terms of his statistical production, their defense was enough to continue carrying them. And so what's funny is that I think the Rams are probably the scariest team right now, week 10, week 11, week 12 of the NFL. And I'm still not sure they're going to win their division.
and that's what I was going to bring up. Look, I have a lot of respect for the Rams. They could go on and win a Super Bowl. Wouldn't surprise me at all. They have all the pieces in place. They have offensive stars. They have a quarterback playing at a ridiculous level. They have a heck of a football coach. Their defense is very, very good. But if we think back on that game Sunday, if Sam Darnold only throws 3 interceptions, the Seattle Seahawks are going to win that game.
But
to think that the Seattle, yes, right. I don't plan on that happening again. That was kind of hopefully for Sam Darnold's sake. But they threw 4 interceptions. They had problems in the red zone. And still at the end of the game, they had a 61-yard field goal to win it. Now, Jason Myers missed it, but he's hit field goals like that before. I come away from that game saying, I don't really change my opinion about the Seahawks at all. I thought the Seahawks were the better team coming into that game. I kind of still think that way. I think they're going to win the rematch in week 16. We'll see how tiebreakers play out and all that. But that's just because the Seahawks, I have a lot of respect for. I think they're a really, really good football team. And I also think the Rams are a really, really good football team. You can make a very clear argument that the 2 best teams in the NFL play in the NFC West.
Yeah.
Right? They are that good at both of those teams. So nothing against, but we talked about Stafford didn't look great on Sunday. Well, that's because the Seahawks defense is awesome. Like the Seahawks defense is really, really good. And I can't wait to see this race the rest of the season. Again, they play on a Thursday night, week 16. Honestly, it's going to end up being one of the greatest Thursday night games, at least matchup wise, of all time. And we'll see how this thing plays out the rest of the way, because again, the Rams might be the second best team in football, the second best team in their own division, or insert the Seahawks there too. Just both really, really, really good, sound, complete football teams.
Yeah, Madison, we need to talk about that. I know we're on the air right now because I actually might want to go to that game. So maybe I do the show from a hotel room that night in Seattle. Just throwing that out there potentially.
Awesome. If it's still called
potentially,
Quest,
just throwing it out there. I've circled that game. If you've never been to, what do they call it now? Lumen? I was
going to say, it's Quest. Is it Quest? Whatever that stadium is,
Quest,
it is awesome.
Lumen,
it is so
whatever they call it. It
Lumen,
is as great an outdoor venue as there is in the NFL, other than Lambeau for the history. It is as loud as any outdoor venue in the NFL. And having gone to multiple Rams-Seahawks Thursday night games up there, because they like to circle that one on, or put that one on Thursday night. It is awesome. It is that good. Speaking of, before we go, I want to bring up what Ernest Jones said about his quarterback. So Ernest Jones, former Rams linebacker, they traded him away. He's now in Seattle, and he was back at SoFi. Not only Cooper Kupp back at SoFi. And after Sam Darnold got picked off 4 times, this is what his linebacker said in his defense.
I mean, Sam's been balling. Like, if we want to try to define Sam by this game or what, man, Sam's had us in every game. So for him to sit there and say, "Oh, that's my fault," no, it's not. There was plays that defensively we could have made plays. There were opportunities where we could have got better stops. Yeah, I mean, like, it's football, man. And he's our quarterback. We got his back, and you got anything to say, quite frankly.
Hey now. Quite frankly, what he said was totally bleeped out. It was a 2-word phrase. The second was you. So there's that. Hats off to Ernest Jones for truly defending his quarterback in a different way than Adam Troutman defended Bo Nix.
Dragon Slayer 69, don't go after
taking
Sam
a shot at Dragon Slayer 69. Ernest Jones just told people to go jump in a lake. And I don't think he meant that fake lake outside SoFi. between the stadium and NFL Network and the parking garage and Cosm and everything else down there. Anyway, coming up, you do not want to miss this part of the show because Frank Schwab will tell you if your favorite team is making the playoffs. And he's going to do it in an attempt to antagonize you. That is next on Inside Coverage. So I want you to know that we listen to your comments. We appreciate your feedback, whether it's commenting on the YouTube stream or tweeting at us or writing on Instagram or the Tiki-Taki or anything like that. We appreciate your feedback. You loved what we did last week, and that is putting up Frank Schwab's playoff projections. I say they're guaranteed. I don't know that it's truly a guarantee because there's no money back we can give you. There is no.
I'll give you all your money back. You paid for this podcast.
Yeah, please don't.
Every cent.
Please do not research, ways to get recourse on these picks if they're not right. But Frank's going to do this every Tuesday as he did a week ago. So let's go with the AFC first. 7 teams in each conference make the playoffs. The American Football Conference, Frank Schwab's projections through 11 weeks of the NFL season. He has the New England Patriots as the 1 seed. The road to the Super Bowl goes through Patriot Place. He has the Colts as the 2 seed. I believe he had Indy as 1 last week, right, Frank? Yeah?
I did. I did.
And, okay. You got Denver at 3, Baltimore at 4, Buffalo at 5, Jacksonville at 6, and the Kansas City Chiefs. You're countering me yesterday calling them burnt ends. I love burnt ends. I love burnt ends. That's what I was saying. Like Q39. Mwah, I love you. You have the Chiefs, Frank, at number 7. Jori, what stands out here to you?
I want to know, do you think the Patriots are the best team in the AFC or just the top seed? Because I understand where their record's at, and I understand the schedule they have going the rest of the year, especially if you take out Buffalo. But how much do you think that's actually going to help them, that first seed?
Right. I truly, honestly don't know if the Patriots are a top 3 team in the AFC, to be honest. Like, I think the Ravens are better, for sure. The Broncos, who have kind of died on this hill of they're my flag plant team this year, I guess. Even teams like the Bills and even the Chiefs. Like I could make arguments. I just think a Patriots schedule has just worked out in such a way that it's almost going to be inevitable for them to get the number 1 seed. And you're right. I had the Colts with number 1 last week. I thought they deserved that spot, but I just keep looking at that schedule and saying, how are the Patriots going to lose enough games to blow the 1 seed? Like the Colts still have some tough games coming up, including at Arrowhead on Sunday against the now very desperate Chiefs team. I don't think the Patriots are the best team in the AFC, and that's okay. They're obviously building something. The best is yet to come for the Patriots, but I don't think they're the best team in the AFC right now. But they will be the number 1 seed because their schedule just lines up so perfectly.
And Frank, you have, if in the wild card round, you have Josh Allen, who accounted for 6 touchdowns a week ago, and they have a short week. They're going to Houston Thursday Night Football here against a Texans team that is going to have to start Davis Mills again. He's going to play his 3rd consecutive game here as CJ has been ruled out. So you've got like a legendary Bills-Ravens wild card matchup in Baltimore, like hero ball Josh Allen, which is seemingly the way they have to win right now, against Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, and I'm not even really wish casting this. This is pretty much if the run out, unless the Ravens just trip up, and I don't see that happening. I sorry, Pittsburgh fans. I think they're going to beat you for the AFC North. They're almost inevitably going to be the 4 seed. And the Bills, I think, are almost inevitably going to be the 5 seed. Unless they could somehow, beat the Patriots. The Patriots stumble somehow with this soft schedule. So yes, I think that it could be the greatest I'm calling everything the greatest matchup ever tonight, but the greatest wild card matchup ever. Like after what we saw in week 1 with the last 2 MVPs, I think squaring off against each other again, absolutely fantastic cinema for a wild card round. Yes, Bills at Ravens almost seems like a collision course at this point.
Okay, so and then for the record, you have Jim Harbaugh's 7-4 Chargers missing the playoffs.
It's the Jaguars all of a sudden have a lot of tiebreaker advantages, and they do have the easier division to play in. And I really trust the Jaguars? Not really, but I worry about the Chargers going forward. Justin Herbert is getting hit so much. That offensive line is such a problem. I totally trust Jim Harbaugh, and I hate doubting him, but I think that loss on Sunday is bad in a couple ways. A, the tiebreaker, And B, I think I don't want to say exposed, but it just revealed a lot of the Chargers' flaws.
It's a good point. I also just want to note that while we know that regular season games don't always create the same results, particularly against the Chiefs as playoff games, the Bills against the Chiefs are pretty famous for that. That means that we're going to see, because in this, you have the Colts and Chiefs facing off in the wild card, and that's who we're going to see this weekend. So I think we should all just pay extra attention this weekend, even if it won't necessarily predate the result of what we would see in the playoffs. It will teach us a little bit about the matchups.
All right, so that's the AFC. Let's put up the NFC here. We already talked about the Rams. I have the Rams as the best team in football. Frank has them as the second seed in the NFC, which, to be fair, is how it is right now. The Eagles are 1, the Rams are 2, the Lions at 3. You have the Buccaneers holding off the Bryce Young, upstart, Tet McMillan, fun Dave Canales Carolina Panthers, followed by the Seahawks, the Packers, and the 49ers. Jori, you get the first shot at this.
Okay, so we clearly have the difference between the current projections and based off record, and what's going on here is that the Lions are figuring it out and the Bears are not. So take us through, how are the Lions going to fight back into it, Frank, and what's going to go wrong for the Bears?
Just think the Lions are a better team. And for you guys who made me be the bad cop on the Bears, okay? Like, you guys, they hung me out to dry there.
We didn't make you do anything.
No, they're not frauds.
You called them frauds.
Okay. I did call them frauds.
I was just saying they're not more
fraudulent
fraudulent than the Commanders last year.
You guys have to take one of these. Which means that they'll be fine for a year,
and then next year it might be a problem.
Yeah, it might be. You guys have to take one of these 7 NFC teams off the list to get the Bears in. Who are you taking off? You think the Lions aren't making the playoffs? Packers?
Good question.
The 49ers are going to be 10-4 if they take care of business.
The one I would take the Packers off the list. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, if the Bears were to get in, I think that's the path, right? That's the path, isn't it?
To be clear, I don't disagree on who's going to make it. It's not.
So the division standings right now, Bears are on top. Packers are 6-3-1. Lions are 6-4. Let's pull up the Bears schedule here. All right. So the Bears get Pittsburgh this week, as mentioned. They still have to play Green Bay twice, and then the Detroit game week 18. So it comes down like the Green Bay and Chicago are going to figure it out one way or the other.
I think that's it. And it's, again, not like the Bears have had a fine season and there's a lot of growth here, but the only thing is the 49ers defense might be so bad that it keeps them out of the playoffs. Like, they did give up like 480 some yards to the Cardinals on Sunday, even in a win. So I could see the argument that maybe the 49ers.
Very scary Bryce Young and Rico Dowdle. You don't want to face those with a bad defense. Home.
Yeah, but I don't think they're losing to the Panthers. So, and sorry to the Panthers. I do think the Buccaneers hold on. And sorry to the Bears. I just think everybody in the NFC on this list I have up there is just better suited to make the playoffs than you are.
Wait, let's pull the Panthers schedule, because first of all, I do not think, and well, two things. Number one, when I saw them, and I saw them for joint practice, and I saw them in a preseason game, whatever preseason, but I saw them at camp during the summer, and I did not think they were very good, to be quite frank. But they have found a way here. Their schedule gets really tough. They lost to the
Saints 9 days ago.
I know they did. But they came back and they beat the Falcons, a division road game. Say what you want, but they won a division road game. Wait a minute. They go to San Francisco, and then they get the Rams at home the next 2 weeks. Then they get the bye. Like, they could easily lose those.
Gets really easy after that. The Buccaneers play the Rams next week.
They might be out of it by December.
The Buccaneers might win out after the Rams game.
The Panthers,
the
Panthers play the Bucs twice in the final 3 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So they go. The Panthers go Bucs at home, Seattle at home, at Tampa. It is a brutal final 3 weeks, but the Panthers have it in their hands. Like Panthers and Bucs are going to figure it out in December. Is my point.
They might. Yeah. They'll. As long as the Bucs don't get swept by the Panthers, and I don't think they will. Again, the Buccaneers play the Rams on Sunday, and I think people are going to start freaking out about the Bucs after that point, because I think the Rams win that game. It's in LA, but the rest of their schedule is like, yep, they're going to be big favorites in every single one of these games, and that doesn't mean you win every game, but I think they win enough to hold off the Panthers and get the 4 seed.
All right, well nodding. Frank's projections hit Yahoo when, Frank? Wednesday
That'll
morning?
Be tomorrow morning. They'll be there. We've already spoiled them all, though. We've just talked.
Well, this is a sneak peek.
I already got the Bears way out of the playoffs.
Yeah, we're just trying to sabotage your traffic.
Not going to be able to vacation in Chicago. Not that I would want to, but hey.
Oh, we're going to blast the traffic soon. No.
You mean you don't also have a vacation home at Soldier Field? That's just Aaron Rodgers.
Chicago. Chicago's people vacation homes is Wisconsin. They all come up to Wisconsin. When
right. I was
before
Andrew explained that. Like I know the whole he owns something, but I'm like, wait, this isn't true, right? Like this has got to be Wisconsin.
No, it is not. Look, and I want everyone else to know. Like I used to be the Bears sideline reporter way back in the last century. But I used to be a Bears sideline reporter on their radio broadcast and cover them every day. And I have dear friends there. And I am rooting for the Bears. Believe me, I want Chicago to be happy. They deserve to be happy with this football team. It's Frank Schwab that called you frauds, not me. All right, time for one more thing before we go. We're talking about the playoffs. What if I told you, and this is not yet official as we record this, the playoff scenarios come out late Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning. However, my buddy Joe Ferrer, you can follow him on Twitter. Joe used to do these officially inside at 345 Park. His math is right. Joe knows. There is one team that can be eliminated from playoff contention this week. Do we have a drum roll? Okay, drum rolls cost extra. Thank you. The New York Giants are 2-9, and there are 3 scenarios in which the Giants can be eliminated this week. With a loss and a Cowboy win, that's number 1. With a loss and a Minnesota win, that's number 2. Or with a loss and a Seattle win or tie, and the New York Giants are officially on to 2026. They are the only team with an elimination scenario this week, and if they are eliminated with 6 weeks to play, it would be the earliest elimination for the New York Giants since the year they moved to the Meadowlands in 1976. 6, according to this.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I trust.
How old were you guys?
Jimmy Hoffa was buried in the end zone. Yeah.
Do you really need to know, Jori? Is that a shot? Are you rubbing it in? Rubbing it in. You were negative something, right? You were negative what?
Negative
25,
negative
20?
18.
Negative 18.
Negative 18.
Boy.
I was 2. Yeah. So there's that.
No comment. Yeah.
I don't know if Wikipedia is accurate on that, but I was 2. All right, kid, what's your one more thing?
My one more thing is actually related to yours, Andrew, because if the Giants are indeed eliminated from the playoffs earlier, well, it seems like at least one of their teammates has another potential thing he could do with his time, because Cam Scatterbo was at a WWE match on Monday night, and I'm not going to try and explain what all this is, because I'm sure it shocks everyone that I don't watch WWE, but these videos are insane, and everything about Cam Scatterbo is insane, and this man is like needing season-ending surgery, but then he's on the sideline during warm-ups, and now he's getting into fake fights with WWE. Like, I'm not saying they're not good actors, but is this not insane to you? Like, if you are the head coach, which I understand they're in a little bit of transition there, the general manager, do you really want Cam Scatterbo doing this right now when you're hoping he's going to be your guy next year?
Yeah.
I feel like things can go wrong.
By the way. WWE
and
rights.
Even if the WWE guys were fine, I don't trust Cam Scatterbo to not make this a real fight.
Well, you realize you just alienated them. I ticked off the Chiefs. Frank ticked off the Bears. Jor, you called them actors. They're not actors. They're athlete entertainers. Wow. Yeah. And by the way, they are actors who are really good athletes. Let's just call it what it is.
Yes.
I'm not, don't at me. Like, I'm not insulting the product, but clearly they are athletes who are really good actors or actors who are really good athletes. Either way, that's what they are. And yes, Cam Scatterbo is leaning in, and honestly, he feels like, he is the WWE superstar of running backs. It is a perfect role for him, truly. What do you got, Frank?
A perfect post-career role, maybe. Okay, go, Frank.
Yes. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, he can always do that. A lot of good WWE guys started in football. I've always been a Mike Tomlin fan. I try to treat him fairly, though, when, we talk about him on a hot seat or whatever. But at my core, I like Mike Tomlin. I like his leadership. I like a lot of things about him. And today he was asked in his Tuesday presser, basically somebody trying to get him to say, like, what would you do? What message would you send to Jalen Ramsey? He got himself suspended for throwing a punch for being spit on. And I thought Tomlin had the perfect answer to this. I think we have the clip of this.
I have no message if someone spits in your face. Do what comes natural.
That so is good. Insanely perfect because Mike Tomlin gets it. He's every other coach, I think, in the NFL will be like, well, we tell our guys it's bad. We don't want to get you ejected. Don't want to get your emotions involved. Mike Tomlin's like, nah, man, somebody spits on you, do what you got to do. Yeah. I thought that was perfect. And it honestly encapsulates why Mike Tomlin is such a great coach. He gets his players. He understands. He's not a robot. He's like, yeah, Jalen, go. You should have hit him harder. Like hats off Mike Tomlin for not giving a cliche there. Great line, great quote. Mike Tomlin, you're my one last thing today because I cracked up laughing when I saw that.
I wonder, and I wasn't watching that deep in the presser, did anyone follow up with, what do you say to Jalen for cheap shotting Jamar Chase multiple times? Would you say anything to him about that?
So I was watching, and while there wasn't that specific question, he was asked earlier about the spitting and about Jamar Chase denying it. And he went into a whole thing of like essentially saying that act is uncommon to the game of football, the act being spitting. So at first he was kind of being like, I'm not going to comment on it. It's the NFL, but let's not pretend this is normal for the game. And then this was the later question, actually, which was, do what comes natural. It was great.
Yes. Whatever you see fit. And next question, what do you think of Patrick Queen continually forearm shivering people to the face instead of just wrapping up? Like your thoughts on that one? I might be showing my bias here, but
you're gonna get Steelers fans mad now.
Might.
Is it bias?
You almost got through the whole show.
True.
You almost got through the whole show without alienating a fan base, Andrew. I think you got the Steelers in under the gun there. That's good. Good job.
I think that siren is coming for Andrew.
Every day I want Andrew over the next 32 days.
That siren means it's the end of the show. It wouldn't be a show without the siren outside Jori's window. As Jim Nantz would say, it is truly a tradition unlike any other. And on that note, we thank you for listening to and watching another edition of Inside Coverage. We are back on Wednesday with reaction to Frank's guaranteed playoff projections. We'll see you then. So long, everybody.